So one thing I've noticed is that people seem to really love web stuff right now, and it seems to be a big thing. So I think I'm gonna start creating a tutorial here, and we're going to build a ASP.NET MVC website here, and this will be part one of the video, and this is really just creating the project. I'm assuming that you know how to navigate around Visual Studio at this point, so we're going to be starting with an empty MVC project, and we'll be working our way up into different types of entity models and views and different types of controllers, and eventually get into some JSON and AJAX commands and other things like that. So to really get started in this video here, let's just create a new project first of all, and we are, whoops, sorry, going to go to our Visual C# here and web, and I'm going to do a MVC4 web application. There isn't a lot different if you're doing, for the purpose of what I'm doing here, there isn't a lot different in syntax and libraries between 3 and 5 that you'll notice. But when you start getting to some more complex commands, you'll notice right away that there's maybe some more available tools for you, one way or the other. So first of all, yeah, we're going to say ASP.NET MVC for web application here, and this is not where I want to save it. I'm going to save it in my other folder, and we're going to we'll just call it the MVC application. That's what we're going to call it, because I think it's kind of silly to think about names for a long time. So I like the ASP.NET or ASPX view engine. If you like Razor, go for it. I'm not a fan of it just because it has a lot more dependencies. And as a create unit test, we're not going to do unit tests in these tutorials. We're just going to create the application, run it, and spray and pray and hope that it works. So let's create an empty MVC4 project here. And it's going to take a little bit here. It's going to generate a lot of things for you. It's going to build your first routing table. It's going to add in your startup classes. It's going to add some of the key folders that are necessary for this project really to work. It's going to add a default database that will basically just run in memory. So it says project creation was successful, so let's go to our Solution Explorer here, and let's see. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go to my Solution Explorer here, and I'm actually going to, I bet you guys can't see this, I'm going to move this over here really quick. I'm going to go MVC application, and you can see over here generated a lot of these files for us. So views, app start, right? This is our filters, our route configs, our web API configs, all sorts of stuff, right? So these are a lot of really handy things that Visual Studio is going to build in for us. So that's pretty impressive. So let's just get started, I guess. So typically you start with your controllers. Well, typically you start wherever you want, I guess, but I'm going to start with the controller, just because I like to really, just have something to work off of, I guess, and then as I go to kind of think about what we're going to do here, we'll add models. So I'm going to add a new controller. I'm going to call it the home controller, because usually that's where somebody's going to visit. And I'm going to make it an empty MVC controller here. And I'm going to move us back over this way here. And then I'm just going to hit add. Excellent. So it's generated this code for us here. And it's generated this nice little bit of code for us here. And So this is the default action. Index is the default action. You can change that in your routing tables if you want. I don't really know why you would. I can't really think of a general idea right now. But this is what will always almost be called every single time that it just calls the default home controller in the URI or URL. So I'm going to say public action index, and it's just going to return a view. And I'm just going to right click this. I'm going to say add view. And you can see here, I'm going to change this to the ASPX. Again, you can use the Razor engine if you want. I like this. The view name is going to be called index. You want it to be the same name as your action because that's how they're kind of set up. So it says down here to use a layout or master page. Let's see. Actually, we should really generate one of those first. Let's do that really quick. I'm going to go to, let's see, views here, and I'm going to add, a new folder. I'm going to call it shared, because this is a shared, if I spell it right here, this is a shared project. I'm going to add let's see, it doesn't say it on here. Let's see, oh, there we go, MVC for view master page. I'm going to just call this the master, and it again will generate some nice little bit of code for us, and this will give us our default template, right? This is how our website will really work. So you can see here it generated a content placeholder for our title, so that we can change the title every single time, and it generated a content placeholder for the actual content. This is where you would put your render content if you are using Razor, the Razor engine. So let me minimize that really quick. So I'm going to do some things here. I will leave that. I'll leave that for right now. And we're going to make a new part up here. I'm going to call it the header, and this is just the HTML to let it always know that it's at the top of the page. And first thing we're going to do is create a div, and let's see. We need a place for maybe if we want to add other links later on. So I'm going to do ASP content placeholder, right? That's to let the view engine know that it's expecting something maybe to be added there. Maybe it won't be, maybe it will. And I'm just going to call this nav links. That will be my my ID, and I'm going to run at server, because anytime you have a ASP tag added on, you need to run it at the server. So if you cannot run these at the client side, as far as I know. Maybe there's a different way, and you can let other people know as well if you want in comments or something. So so pretty sweet. And up here I'm also going to add a let's see, I'm going to add another content placeholder up here in the head, and this is going to be let's see, ID. We're going to call this scripts. Okay, and we're going to say run at server, and okay, and then we're also going to add one for ID, and we're going to call this styles. Okay, and that's how if any of the pages that use this default view want to add any scripts or any CSS styles to it, it can. So, and didn't want to do that. So sweet. All right, so we added those. Yeah, so we're gonna want a place where we can add those the navigation links, and then we're gonna go down here and we're gonna say footer. We're going to make a footer tag here, and we're going to want another content placeholder there as well, in case we want to use that footer. So we'll say ID, and we're going to call this. Let's see, what do we want to call this? Footer. We'll call this footer content. We'll say run at server. Oh, I almost forgot. You cannot use those in. You cannot use dash marks like that in a ASP tagged in an ASP tagged HTML element here, specifically definitely content placeholder. So we're going to call it footer content. This is main content. If we want, maybe we can make these capitalized so that we know that these are ran at the server side. So when we're accessing them, maybe later on, we know that these are available, and those are things that are available on our server side that we can program in the master file. And we'll start with that, right? We're not going to do anything else to this. I think that's going to be just fine for the purpose of this video. So I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go back to my home controller, and we are going to add a view. And let me see what time we're at here. We're doing okay. I'm going to add an index view, and I'm going to leave it as the ASPX C# view engine. You use layout or master page. We're going to do master page. And this won't come up for, well, actually, yeah, I guess it will. If you're using the Razor engine, it'll automatically add the layout tag for you at the top. So, and then, yeah, it says content placeholder ID main content. Yep, that's exactly where we're going to be adding content. And it did that for us. So you can see up here, created a view, set our master page for us, sets the inherent class, lets it know the language, right, and sets the title of the page. I guess if we really want to set the title of the page, right, we could say home, and right in our title content here, this is going to be displayed. This is what's displayed in our every time we load the page. We're going to call this home, and I'm going to get rid of this guy here. I've never liked how it formatted some of these things, and we're going to call this home page. And we'll make a little paragraph tag here and say, welcome to our MVC application home page. And that will be it. And we don't need to add any navigation links, footer content, anything like that. We don't need to add any scripts. I think this is fine. Right? I think this is okay. So let's just build this here really quick and see what happens. All right, awesome. So I'm gonna then just yeah, I run it in IE, believe it or not. That's the default. I can change it, I guess, if I really want to. So it's gonna load up IIS here, Internet Information Services. You can run it on the local IIS if you have one, but you need to run Visual Studio in the administrator context. So and when we get into security, we'll get into that. So. Sweet. So if we look here, if I scroll over, it automatically loaded the home controller. But if I type home here, it's going to load the same thing because that's the controller. And if I type, I don't think you can see actually all the way up there. I'm going to expand this. If I type home and then I type index, it still does that, and I can even put 0 after that, and it still does that because it expects some sort of ID or something. It throws it away. So yeah. So how it typically goes for MVC is your controller name, and you have your little / and then your action name, and that's really how. At least you can easily tell where you're navigating if you're debugging and things like that. Later on, when you get into things like Ajax and JSON, you won't necessarily see those. You'll just have your controller name, maybe the action page, and then when it calls it, we're going to go into just calling actions. So I'm going to close that out, and I think that'll just conclude for what we're doing right now. Basically all we did was we just created a controller, added a view, and a master page. So, all right.